movie begins with a former hitman named John Knox who has lived alone for many years, isolated from the world. One day he starts forgetting simple things like where he put his keys, what day it is, and people's names. A close friend, Thomas, notices the decline and urges him to get checked. After a doctor's visit, John receives devastating news. He has a rare form of dementia. The disease is progressing fast, and he has about 2 weeks left before his mind starts shutting down completely. The doctor advises him to spend time with his family, but John no longer has one. Years ago, his loved ones cut ties after learning he was a contract killer. Now, with billions in cash and valuables hidden away, John hopes to spend his final days in peace, but life has other plans. John reconnects with Annie, a woman he once loved. Though they share tender moments, he keeps forgetting details about his past. Annie is curious about his work and his family, but John's mind drifts before he can answer fully. Then Thomas calls with a new assignment. The target lives across town. John hesitates but agrees, warning Thomas this may be his last job. As they stake out the house, John admits his condition is getting worse. Thomas looks concerned, but the job must go on. Once inside the house, John's mind falters. He confuses faces and places. In a haze, he walks into the bathroom and sees the target bathing with a woman. He fires. The bullet hits the woman by mistake. Panic sets in. The door bursts open. It's Thomas. John, startled and disoriented, shoots again. He accidentally kills his best friend. Now in shock, John tries to make sense of what he's done. His boss, Jericho, calls to check in. John lies, saying the target attacked first, killing Thomas. He adds that he had to shoot the woman too. Jericho, trusting John's long reputation, accepts the story. To cover his tracks, John arranges the scene to look like a murder-suicide. He puts the gun in Thomas's hand and disappears into the night. The next day, 2 detectives, Rail and Emily, investigate. Rail believes it's a simple case. Thomas killed the couple and was then shot in return. But Emily notices inconsistencies. The water in the shower had been turned off, something the victims wouldn't have done if they had died mid-attack. She suspects someone else was there. Meanwhile, John visits an old accountant. He hands over the names of 3 people and asks that all his wealth in cash, jewels, and paintings be given to them when he dies. The accountant agrees. Later, John returns home and hides valuable paintings in his walls. That night, there's a knock at the door. A badly wounded man stands there, someone John doesn't recognize at all. He just stares, confused, as the man pleads for help. John's time is running out, and with it the pieces of his past. After a moment of silence, John looks at the injured man and asks who he is. The man, confused and emotional, says, "What happened to you? I'm your son." Hearing this, John suddenly remembers. His son's name is Miles. Realizing he didn't recognize his own son, John understands just how bad his memory has become. John helps Miles inside and asks what happened. Miles breaks down in tears. He explains that his 20-year-old daughter is pregnant. He loves her deeply. Recently, he discovered that she had been seeing a 32-year-old man named Anthony who misled her and got her pregnant. Angry and hurt, Miles went to Anthony's house to confront him. The situation got out of hand and Miles ended up killing Anthony in a moment of rage. Now he is terrified. He says if he is arrested, his family will fall apart. He tells John he has never asked for help before, but now he desperately needs it. John thinks for a moment, then tells Miles to remove all his clothes. He hands him a glass of water, making sure Miles leaves his fingerprints on it. Then he tells him to go home and promises to handle the rest. John keeps the knife Miles used in the murder and warns him not to tell anyone. But Miles, shaken and unsure, tells everything to his wife Cheryl as soon as he gets home. Meanwhile, John gets to work. He first goes to Anthony's house to collect blood and hair samples. He now has physical evidence. Next, he heads to the building where the neighborhood surveillance footage is kept. He knocks out the guard and starts deleting video recordings. But during this, he suffers another dementia episode. In his confusion, he deletes only the footage that shows himself, accidentally leaving Miles' footage intact. He returns home without realizing his mistake. Instead of destroying the evidence against Miles, John hides it in a secret place. His actions are confusing. It is unclear why he's doing this. He then starts writing down everything in a diary before he forgets completely. Meanwhile, detectives Emily and Rail continue investigating. Emily begins looking into who last had contact with Thomas and eventually learns about John. Digging deeper, she discovers that John had spent 6 years in prison for tax evasion. No one ever found out who turned him in. Emily starts suspecting John is a professional killer and that he may have been hired to eliminate Thomas and the others. She believes John might have shot Thomas out of revenge, thinking he was the one who had him imprisoned. Wanting proof, Emily keeps investigating. At the same time, John visits his old partner, Xavier. He gives him a document listing all the evidence he has and explains the situation. John tells Xavier that his son killed someone by mistake and needs help. Xavier asks why John is handing over so much. John explains that he has dementia and could forget everything at any moment. That's why he needs Xavier to take charge. Xavier agrees. Emily and Rael begin looking into Anthony's murder. They visit the crime scene. Emily notices the way Anthony was killed suggests rage, not planning. She assumes the killer knew Anthony well and wanted revenge. She comments that it wouldn't be surprising, considering Anthony had a reputation for preying on women, recording them without consent, and selling the footage. As they inspect the house, they realize only one thing is missing: the murder weapon, a knife. They know they must find it to crack the case. Meanwhile, John continues his strange behavior. He takes Miles's shirt and drips Anthony's blood onto it. Some of Anthony's blood was already on the shirt from the attack, but John adds more. He also presses his own fingerprint onto the glass and then breaks it. Everything he's doing seems to be pointing the blame at Miles. As Emily leaves Anthony's home, she speaks with the guard at the surveillance room. He reveals that someone knocked him out the night before and deleted footage from the system. This only deepens her suspicion. Later that night, John meets with Miles again. He warns him that the police may come soon. If they ask questions, Miles should say he was at John's house the whole night and that he got hurt while drinking. He must not say anything else. John tells him to take his family and leave town the next day. Miles agrees and leaves. Once Miles is gone, John enters his own house. He begins planting all the collected evidence. He even places strands of Anthony's hair on Miles's clothes. It is now clear that John is framing his own son. All the signs are being arranged to lead the police to Miles. Emily continues her investigation. She receives autopsy reports for the 3 people killed with Thomas. The report reveals that all 3 were shot with the same gun. This confirms Emily's suspicion that a 4th person was present at the scene and killed them all. She checks where John was at the time of the murders and confirms he was in the area. Now John becomes the prime suspect. Emily wants to question him. When she confronts him, John keeps calm. He gives believable answers to all of Emily's questions. Despite her instincts, Emily cannot catch him in a lie. John walks away free. After the interrogation, John visits his wife Ruby. He tells her everything. He confesses that he is running out of time. Soon he won't remember anything at all, not even who she is. Ruby is heartbroken after hearing John's condition. He stays with her briefly before heading to a warehouse owned by Miles. There, John finds a stash of hidden diamonds. Without saying a word, he takes them and leaves. Meanwhile, Emily speaks with Rael about Anthony's murder case. Rael mentions that they found another person's DNA at the scene, but the report is still pending. As they review Anthony's past, they discover disturbing footage of him abusing young women and selling the recordings. Among the victims is Kyle, Miles's daughter. In the CCTV footage, they also spot Miles outside Anthony's house. This raises Emily's suspicions even further. Miles is brought in for questioning. When asked, he denies ever knowing Anthony, but Emily gets permission to search his home. During the search, they uncover overwhelming evidence: the murder weapon, a blood-stained shirt, and hair samples, all pointing directly to Miles. He is arrested for Anthony's murder. At the same time, John meets his old partner, Xavier. He hands Xavier the diamonds and asks him to sell them. The money is to be given to Phil, who will divide it among 3 people listed by John. These 3 are the beneficiaries of everything John owns. Later, John returns to his home and finds a group of armed men waiting for him. Annie is with them. She has led them there. They demand the rest of his money, knowing he once sold valuable artwork. John is stunned by her betrayal. One by one, he takes them down in a brutal shootout. Once everyone is gone, he turns his gun on Annie. He tells her he had already included her in his will. Along with his wife and son, she would have received a third of everything. But now, after seeing her true colors, he's cutting her off. The next day, Xavier meets with Phil and removes Annie's name from the list. Meanwhile, Emily and Rael visit the forensic department. The analyst tells them that all the evidence found at Miles's house appears to have been planted. Someone set him up. Suspicion returns to John. At the prison, John visits Miles. In front of everyone, he loudly accuses Miles of being the one who sent him to jail for 6 years for tax evasion. He says that is why he framed Miles for Anthony's murder. Miles is shocked and denies it, but John walks away. Soon after, John contacts Xavier and asks him to report the bodies in his house. Xavier immediately calls Emily. She rushes to John's home with a team. During the search, they find a broken glass with Miles's fingerprints. Emily begins to piece the story together. Before she leaves, John confesses everything. He admits he killed Anthony. He says Miles did betray him years ago by reporting him to the authorities. But when he learned about Anthony's abuse of his granddaughter, he saw a chance to protect her and punish his son at the same time. So he killed Anthony and framed Miles. He explains that he had always been a bad father, but he wanted to be a good grandfather. This confession clears Miles. Emily releases him. When questioned about the night of Anthony's murder, Miles repeats what John told him to say. He claims he was drinking at John's house and injured himself accidentally. Emily remembers the glass at the house with his fingerprints. It all makes sense now. John had orchestrated the entire thing to look like a setup, only to step in and confess at the last moment. Miles is free and John is sentenced to life in prison. Later, Miles and Ruby receive a check, John's entire fortune split between the two of them. Meanwhile, Annie receives a package in the mail. It contains only books that belong to John. Through this, John sends a message. If she hadn't been greedy, she would have received real wealth. In the final scene, Miles visits his father in prison. Everything becomes clear. The day Miles arrived at John's door, John knew the truth. He knew that Miles had killed Anthony and that there was too much evidence against him. The police would have eventually caught him. So John began to construct a plan, one that made it look like he was framing his son while secretly preparing to take the fall himself. He knew his memory was fading. He didn't have much time left, but he wanted to do one last thing for his family. He sacrificed everything to protect them. As Miles thanks his father, Emily arrives to question John about the earlier murders involving Thomas. But John no longer remembers anything. In his mind, Thomas is still alive. The movie ends with John sitting silently, lost in the fog of his mind, his last mission complete.